Welcome to Impact 2023, our continuing conversation where we talk about all the topics of the day. We talk about it from a Christian perspective, from your perspective, and from my perspective. In order to do that, as we always say, feel free to type your questions and your comments into the comment section. This is a continuing conversation. And so we value your input into the conversation. And so if you have anything that you want to say, please feel free to type it in and we will address it directly. We'll bring it up on the screen and we will address either your question or your comment. And so again, feel free to participate in the process. All right, there's a lot of different things that are going on right now as we hop right into. Of course, the biggest news of the day is the former president of the United States being indicted. We're not talking about that. It really doesn't have any value here. It's just somebody going to court. People do that all the time. So unfortunately, if that's what you want to talk about, sorry. But what we are going to talk about actually is a continuation of last week, even though I made some false statements because I said last week we weren't going to continue this on. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I got some more information and felt that I was obligated to go ahead and circle back on this topic. What we talked about last week was Florida. And what we talked about last week was a call for a boycott in Florida. And what we talked about was the NAACP calling for a boycott. So more specifically, if you really want to get into it, the NAACP chapter in Florida, one of the largest chapters in the state of Florida, made a request to the national NAACP that they would be able to have a boycott that make Florida a no-go state. Ask people not to come down to Florida and spend their hard-earned money on vacations, on leisure, taking trips and doing those such things. Or if you have the ability to decide where you move, to make sure that Florida is one of those things that you would probably scratch off your list. And this was in a direct response to the governor and the legislature doing numerous activities that many people consider racist, that I consider racist. And then they also have activities as well against people of different genders and diversity all across the board. But the NAACP portion primarily focuses on the racial aspects of what's going on in Florida. And so, all right, why are we talking about this again? What new information came? The new information was that they talked to some business people, some Black business owners in Florida. And so then they had some opportunities to talk and comment on how they felt. One such Black business owner said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on them. And the Black owners that they talked about in this particular article that I read were all tourism based. And because they said over 50 million people come to Florida each year, which is a crazy number to imagine. Whether to go to Disney, whether to go to Miami or the beaches, or whether to go to Universal Studios or whatever else, conferences or whatever, 50 million people come through. And many of those people are people of color. And they patronize these Black organizations. They go there and they spend their hard-earned money. And so these people in the tourism, they all said that it would significantly hurt them or significantly change what was going on. One business person said, there was a gentleman who said, basically, look, we got to deal with it. This is the right thing to do. We have to figure out another way, to make our money. And in the sense of we can reach out to the people who are already here, the people who do come, but he advocates for we have to do something. And he said we have to make sacrifices. And that's what this gentleman made. So he was very aware that if Black people stop coming to the state or reduce our numbers, then his business is going to be hit. And he was okay with that. Another young lady, she said as well, she said, look, I don't think it's going to do what we want it to do. Her comment was very, very good. And that's why we're discussing this. Her comment was, it's giving them exactly what they want. So if you have people here who are making laws and rules so that they can push out Black people, then us deciding that we don't want to come down there and people deciding that they don't want to move and live in Florida is giving them exactly what they want. A place where they can make up rules and be as discriminatory as they want to be. And she said she's already seen people who have packed up and left since these rules have come into play, since they decided to pass these laws trying to control everything from what you can teach your kids to or what the school system can teach their kids, to what books are being read, to what or available in the library, to what colleges and universities can do, to what businesses can say, and even to the effect, two recent things that are on the table. One was that they were actually going to attack diversity in any business in Florida can have a diversity in person or a job, person or job or position, as long as you have anything to do with state funds. And then so they also were targeting Greek letter organizations, the Pan-Hellenic Council organizations. That is, different fraternities and sororities that are historically Black or brown. And then they kind of backtracked off of that. It was like, no, they're fine. They're fine. We're not going to, stop them from getting state funds and stop them from being able to continue to do what they want to do. But anybody else can't be diversity and inclusion. You can't have anything in that title. Whereas a lot of people have diversity and inclusion officers, you can't do that kind of thing anymore. So all of these type of attacks. And so the result is people have decided to, according to the lady, leave the state. And she said that's unfortunate because what we need, and she was very clear, is that we need more people of color here to be able to vote. More people of color here to be able to change the dynamics of this location so that these people can't just decide that we have Florida or we have this state and we can do what we want to do. You have to have more people come in to change the overall dynamic. Now that sounds great from her standpoint. So there's a diversity of thought there. There were still a couple of other businesses that just said, look, we're going to be hurt. We don't know what to do. We wish this wasn't going on. So they didn't say they agreed with the boycott or didn't agree with the boycott, but just from their standpoint, they didn't know what they were going to do, and they wish that it wasn't going on. And so you had a bunch of different opinions here. But the question that I have, and the reason that we had to talk about this is, all right, I was 100%, and I still am on board with a boycott, but is it the right thing to do? Is what the young lady said, the young lady, the business owner said, true? Should we not be trying to boycott, but encourage more people to come down so that we can exert influence and even some control over the situations that are going down there through our participation in leadership, participation in politics, participation in government, participation in voting? Should we go that route? Or should we go the route of boycotts? Because specifically, what the business owners did say is, if Black people are not coming, then the Black businesses that rely on Black people are going to be the ones who are going to get hurt. As much as other organizations will get hurt, the burden will be bared by Black businesses. So is it the right thing to do? And so, again, if anybody has any comments on that or opinion on that, I still lean on the fact that it's the right thing to do. Now, then the question comes in as Florida, some stats here. 17% of the population is Black in Florida. Is there even a possibility of enough people going to Florida to be able to influence the overall state in the way that it's going? I don't know how long-term that plan is, but if you only have 17% of the population, what number of people do you have to be imported in? What number of people do you have to have? Because only 50% of the population votes anyway. So if you only have 17%, if Black people vote, and they do, in accordance with the general population, actually even at a little bit less, you're only talking about what? 8%, if we want to be generous. So 8% of the population in Florida is the Black vote. That's a long way to go. It's a long, long way to go. And But at the same time, we're hurting ourselves. This isn't like a boycott of, just one institution. We can't boycott the government directly. Well, we can. Let me take that back. We could just tell everybody in Florida stop paying taxes, even though they don't have a state tax. You have to figure some kind of way. But that'd be the only way to kind of boycott the government. But what we're trying to do is we're hurting the people that we're hurting some of the people that we're actually are least guilty, I guess, or at least the ones that we want to affect. And so that's what it comes into play. It is sacrifice. Everybody acknowledges that, like the business person acknowledges that. But it then comes into play where you are primarily hurting Black businesses by having Black people, brown people, not come into the state. And then as I read this and heard this, and then had to circle back. Because again, I'm an advocate for the for the boycott, but are we mimicking the cancel culture? And as Christians, we sit back, canceling and being a Christian. Those two things don't work. Because if we're all about forgiveness, if we're all about redemption, if we're all about you being able to change and grow, then you can't cancel, because canceling doesn't allow for change and growth. I'll say this: I don't think that it's the same thing. I think that canceling and what these younger people do, or what the popular social thing to do with canceling people is, once you're canceled, it's over. There is no comeback. Whereas we're just saying, as long as you act this way, we're not going to participate. And that all of that leaves the door open for redemption. Boycotts don't last forever. Boycotts last until you get your stuff straight. And so it's just saying, I'm not going to participate with you. And I think that's a different from canceling. Canceling, there's no opportunity for learning and growth. Whereas a boycott, it's purely an opportunity for learning and growth. I give a quick story. NAACP, myself included, with them in solidarity, there was a boycott of South Carolina as long as they had the Confederate flag up on the State House. That means don't go there, don't give them your money, don't do anything like that. Well, that boycott is over because South Carolina took the Confederate flag off of the State House. They did that back in 2020. And so then the boycott ended. And so it's not a permanent thing, and it is to get what you need to get, but I don't think it's canceling out. And so as a Christian, I sit back and I say, well, as long as there's an opportunity there for redemption, this is not a death sentence. I think that it's something that we can do. Comment. The issue comes to how much economic power do people of color have? The Montgomery boycott caused economic hardship for Montgomery. The Black population would have to commit to supporting Black businesses. And so I think that's the rub. We know that Black people, especially in Florida, have a significant amount of sway and influence because of the number of events that go on there, because of the number of people and events that go on in the beach areas in Miami, and I can't think of any other beaches, so I'm gonna just say Miami. I don't really know Florida that well, but I do know that there are a lot of cultural events that continuously go on. And so you have bike weeks, and you have spring breaks, and you have just summertime fun, but you have a significant Black and brown population that comes down and spends money and has economic power. And as much as, I'll bring the comment back up, it is, how much hardship can we cause? I think we can cause a lot of hardship. The question is, how much of it is going to be self-inflicting pain versus really causing hardship? So if people stop going to Disney World, if Black people stop going to Disney World, and that's 17%, there's a 17% drop in their overall members, not members, but visitors, that's going to cause something. Now, Disney World is not, I guess, a favorite of Florida right now, so that may be a bad example. Let's say Universal. But if businesses like that get hit, that's going to cause a stir, and that may cause some change. But if you know, Grandma T's Soul Food is a place that people love to come to, that Black people love to come to as they visit down, and they don't go there. That's not going to move the needle if that person gets hit, and they're not going to get hit at 17% if over the half of their patrons are people of color and tourists. They're going to get hit halfway out, and there's really no way to support that from afar. You know, if you're a restaurant, I can't order your food from Chicago, from New York, from DC, from Kentucky, from wherever the people are coming from. So it's a difficult thing there. It would be incumbent upon the people of Florida to support their own businesses, but I don't think that there's an ability to make up for the tourism and the tourism numbers that are just not going to be there. If you're a Black-owned hotel, or even you got an Airbnb or a rental car, if anything that you do that you cater towards tourists, you're going to get hit. You are going to get hit, and especially if you're somebody who caters towards Black tourists. And the economic power that we have, we just, can those individual businesses maintain long enough that the government sees that the government is willing to relent, or at least, to the point where, because what they're doing is they're actively being actively just hitting Black people as much as they can, actively disrespecting, especially with their comments and what you can see, people of color as much as they can. It's just disrespectful of how they're talking about things that have no value. These things are not important. And that's what they're saying about different parts of it and aspects. So if the goal can be to make change, and the change can be that things like the laws and the rules need to change, or the goal can be change, whereas you stop and you can't go any further as far as with any more racist type things. But yeah, it's the economic power, but it's where the power is going. Unfortunately, based on the comment that the young lady made, especially to these particular businesses, you can't do both. You can't economically hurt the state and support these Black businesses at the same time. Because if you travel into the state and only decide to patronize Black businesses, at the end of the day, you're still going to help out the state. Like, they're not going to see the impact, and so it puts you in kind of like a mental battle. I feel for the people of color in the businesses. But I'll say this, and this may sound a little heartless and cruel and disrespectful, or however you want to take it. And again, if you want to comment on that, then definitely. I live in a state where we possibly could have some rules and some laws that could be put in effect that are similar. For those of you all who are here in Virginia, we could have some. We are not that far away from having some similar laws that they have in Florida. And if we do, and if those laws get passed, that's our fault. Not fully, but partially our fault. And we bear partially some of the responsibility for it getting put into place, and we bear responsibility for trying to get it changed. And so, unfortunately, the people who are in the Black people of Florida, the pain that you may have to endure is partially on you, I would say, for being in Florida. And that, there's no other way to say that. That doesn't sound great. And so, the good part about it is, the only part I can sit back and say is that this is not a canceling thing. This is not a death sentence. I think this is an opportunity for redemption. This is an opportunity for change. This is an opportunity for something new. At the end of the day, they reelected a governor who said that he was going to do this, and they keep reelecting individuals who they say who say out of their mouth that they're going to do to be, racially disparaging. And here's the I'm missing the word. Here's the good thing that may occur. As Christians, as Black Christians, we may have gotten some help from from some places that we didn't necessarily know we were going to get it from. Other Christians and from the media. Because Florida's gone too far. And so one of the new rules that Florida's trying to push across is a rule that says you cannot transport immigrants. If you know somebody is an illegal immigrant, you cannot assist in transporting them anywhere. So they can't go, if you have a van and you just want to pick somebody up and take them over somewhere else for social services, you can't do that if they're an illegal immigrant. If somebody is hurt, you can't pick them up and take them to the hospital, because moving an illegal immigrant from one place to the other is a no-go. And they're not putting in a duty to help to supersede that. And so the churches, more specifically the Christian churches, said, whoa, wait a minute. Now you've gone too far. You've crossed over into trying to regulate our faith, because we have an obligation to help those who need help, to help those who are in need. And so if we have a food program or a job program, if we see somebody who is hurt or in distress, if somebody just needs some transportation from A to B and they happen to be an illegal immigrant, as Christians, we have an obligation and we have a right to help them out. And so now all of a sudden, we got some allies on here who may not have been their allies before. You know, I believe that everybody who is Christian minded, that are on the same type of faith understands that you can't have discrimination and all of that kind of things, and they would not have been on board with that. But there's some other people, some other people of faith who are not on that same plane, but they don't want to be disrespected when it comes to, we want to be able to do what we want to do as far as how we serve. And so there may be some alignment there. So as much as we sit back and we say, well, we're going to boycott and that's going to hurt Black businesses. Well, maybe we got some secret allies out here. Also in Florida as well, they're also pushing the bill towards censoring or trying to control a little bit what the press and the media is saying. And people all around on the press side is coming against that. So maybe we're getting some allies there. So if we start the boycott, and if we have our boycott combined with some of the other activities or some of the other disgruntledness of some other groups, all we have to do is start it. And it looks like other things are falling into play where we're going to get some support. Not necessarily on the boycott side, but we're going to get some support and some pressure. And so the combination of all of these things may make the house fall. Comment. Given we are in Holy Week, maybe we need to understand and embrace sacrifice and ultimate sacrifice. Absolutely. It's sacrifice and ultimate sacrifice. And that's the thing. We need, as just people in general, especially people of faith in general, I don't think we sacrifice or understand sacrifice the way that we used to, or not even the way that we used to, the way that we may probably need to. Everything is so important to us. Everything is, we've earned this, we work for this, we want this, and we think we should have everything. And we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. And I think we need to practice sacrifice, and that is the only way to get to being able to actually sacrifice. As much as we do sacrifice and fast from time to time, as much as we fast for Lent, I think we need to practice more how to sacrifice, how to give up things that you want, how to make sure that what's important is more important than what's not important. So, sometimes you sacrifice things not because you need to sacrifice it, but you're sacrificing so that you can understand how to sacrifice. And I think that that's what we probably need to embrace, sacrificing. And like you said, even the ultimate sacrifice. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's still, and the concern and the comment from the young lady, the businesswoman, where she says that the answer is the opposite, which is to bring more people in and change the game than it is to pull out. That's still a valid comment. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't think that what she's saying is effective and will work, but that is something that a lot of people have done over the years. If it was up to me, I'm sitting back here and I'm like, man, let's have Miss Black America pageant and let's keep it like that. Don't even mess with them. They terrible over there. They don't want you in there. They don't want you there anyway. They're going to treat you wrong. They're going to disrespect you. Don't even deal with it. Whereas there's other people who say, no, I'm going to go in their pageant and they're going to let me in because I need to be there. I have the right to be there. And everybody else who wants to be there has the right to be there. Both people are right. That's why we had a Miss Black America pageant. And then that's why there were certain individuals who pushed to get included into the Miss America pageant. And so there's multiple ways to do things. And I think both people are right. And so, yeah, I'm always, I know if you don't want me there, I don't need to be there. But there's other people who, and that's why we've had a lot of opportunities. A lot of things have changed because they say, I don't care if you don't want me there. I want to be there. So I'm going to be there. And I'm going to make sure that everybody else can be there. Comment. If Christians would live out their faith publicly, openly and faithfully, maybe we would not have to deal with some of the issues we're dealing with today. Yeah. And you know what I think one of the silliest things was, and it's true and it's silly, is people say these are the things you don't talk about. You don't talk about politics. You don't talk about money. And you don't talk about religion. There's some other things they throw in there, like abortion and things like that, but that's included in politics. But yeah, you don't talk about politics. You don't talk about money. You don't talk about religion. Well, if you want to have a good conversation, or if you don't want to get in trouble. Well, I think that last one we probably should have took off the table. Yeah, don't talk about politics. Don't talk about money. But we should be able to talk about religion. And as the comment said, if we live our faith out publicly and openly, like we've talked about it here, and people know you don't have to be obnoxious, annoying, but it should be something that is fluidly talked about, that is open to be talked about, that we should be living our faith. That you shouldn't be trying to be ashamed or hide. There are people, I've seen people do this, it's something small, but it's right there. Whereas there are a lot of Christians who won't pray before they eat in public. They feel uncomfortable. They feel like it makes other people uncomfortable. And so they want to pray, so they'll do like a quick silent prayer off to the side, but they won't live their faith fully out. Whereas you can see other faiths and other religions, they don't care where they're at. They get ready to eat. Hands are up and everything. Like maybe we need to take an example from other people, and maybe we just need to take an example from each other and understand that, as the comment said, let's live our faith out publicly and openly, because I think that comment is right. There's certain things that you're just not going to do if you know that there's Christians all over the place. And so I think that hits it right there. All right. Well, I understand. Look, now I promise you that this is the last time we're going to talk about Florida, right? And what's going on down there. But I had to circle back because those comments were interesting, and those comments were something that we didn't highlight last time. And we have to think about what we want, or in my case, what I want, and what the NAACP wants out of the Florida situation and out of the discrimination that's going on down there, and who it affects. And so that is just another point to consider. And so every time we go into a situation of where, all right, we need to make some hard choices. We need to make some sacrifice. We need to know who are the people affected, and that may or may not change our decision. And so there we go. Thank you, everyone, for the comments. Thank you for everyone for joining us. I really think that this is a topic that you should be discussing as well. Because here, if you live in Virginia, we may be dealing with that very soon. If we don't do what we're supposed to do, we may be dealing with some of those same situations. And so we need to know what to do to stop it. But then we also need to know what are we prepared to do if things start to go the way that we don't want them to go. All right. Thank you again. Remember, as always, we have Bible study on Thursdays at 7:00, and we have worship here on YouTube and on Facebook at 10:00 on Sundays. All right. Thank you again, and have a good one.